What if the flood described in the Bible, the one that covered the earth and brought Noah and his ark to the surface, was also the event that wiped the dinosaurs off the map? Imagine the scene: torrential rains, rising seas, and a Tyrannosaurus struggling against the waters while Noah's Ark floats in the background. This idea is an explosive mix of science, faith, and imagination. What would it be like if the great cataclysm narrated in Genesis had wiped out not only sinful humanity, but also prehistoric giants? Did Noah try to save a velociraptor or a brachiosaurus? Let's dive into this fascinating theory, combining the biblical narrative with paleontology to create an epic scenario that will blow your mind. Get ready for a trip back in time that connects Noah's flood with the end of the dinosaurs. Now think, what if the fossils we find today were traces of creatures that didn't fit on the ark? Was the flood the divine reset that changed the history of the planet? This is the adventure we are going to explore, imagining how a biblical event could explain the extinction of the dinosaurs. We will travel between myths, science, and possibilities, questioning what we know about the past. If you like ideas that mix the impossible with the sacred, come with us. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss any content that will make you rethink the history of the world. Let's set the scene. The Bible, in Genesis, describes a global flood that covered mountains, destroying almost all life on Earth. Noah, following divine orders, built an ark to save his family and representatives of the animals. Now imagine that dinosaurs, from Tyrannosaurs to Diplodocus, still roamed the planet at that time. Modern science indicates that dinosaurs became extinct 66 million years ago, probably by an asteroid. But what if the biblical narrative, interpreted literally by some traditions, had the flood as the event that wiped them out? How would that work? First, the flood would have been a catastrophe of colossal proportions. Incessant rains for 40 days, fountains from the abyss gushing water, and the planet turning into a chaotic ocean. Land-dwelling dinosaurs such as the T-Rex or the Stegosaurus would have faced a nightmare. With no high ground to escape to, even the strongest would have been swallowed up by the waters. Aquatic species such as plesiosaurs might have survived longer, but changes in the salinity or temperature of the oceans would have doomed them too. And the ark? The Bible says that Noah took animals according to their kind, but dinosaurs, with their size and appetite, would have been a logistical challenge. An adult brachiosaurus, 25 meters long, would not have fit on the ark, which measured about 135 meters. Even young animals would be a problem. A baby T-Rex would still need fresh meat, and herbivores like Triceratops would consume tons of plants. Perhaps Noah was ordered to leave the dinosaurs out as part of God's plan to reset the earth. Another issue is timing. Science dates dinosaurs millions of years before humans, but some creationist interpretations suggest that the earth is much younger, with humans and dinosaurs coexisting. In this scenario, the flood would be the event that separated the ages, eliminating the giants and leaving only the animals that fit on the ark. Fossils found today, from velociraptors in the Gobi Desert to tyrannosaurs in North America, could be the remains of these drowned creatures preserved in layers of sediment deposited by the flood. Culturally, this would explain dragon legends in various traditions. Perhaps survivors of the flood, such as Noah and his sons, told stories about monsters that lived before the Great Flood, inspiring myths. The Bible mentions creatures such as Behemoth and Leviathan. These could be descriptions of dinosaurs based on memories or fossils found by ancient people. So, what do you think? Do you think Noah tried to save any dinosaurs, or that God chose to leave them out of the ark? Does the flood explain the fossils? Leave your opinion in the comments and let's discuss this epic idea. Now, let's explore the impact of the flood on the world of dinosaurs. A global event like this would have devastating consequences for the ecosystem. Before the flood, imagine a planet where dinosaurs ruled. Dense forests with brachiosaurs eating treetops, plains where velociraptors hunted in packs, and swamps inhabited by Spinosaurus. The flood would have destroyed this balance. Forests were submerged, food chains collapsed, and even flying dinosaurs such as pteranodons would have faced storms that made it impossible for them to fly. The water would have changed everything. Sediment carried by the currents would have buried dinosaurs, explaining why we find fossils in rock layers. Mud and floods would have created dinosaur graveyards, such as those found in Montana or Mongolia. Smaller species, such as Compsognathus, might have survived temporarily in floating debris, but the lack of food and shelter would have doomed them. Socially, the flood would have changed humans' relationship with nature. Before the flood, humans might have feared or revered dinosaurs, seeing them as divine creatures or threats. Genesis suggests that humanity lived in sin, and dinosaurs might have been seen as part of this corrupt world, justifying their exclusion from the ark. Noah, as a righteous man, may have understood that dinosaurs were not part of God's new plan. But what if some dinosaurs survived? Small species could have clung to wreckage or inhabited temporary islands. This would explain legends of monsters in post-flood cultures. Ancient people, upon finding giant bones, could have created stories of dragons or titans, reinforcing the idea that the flood was a purification event. Post-flood society would be shaped by this catastrophe. Noah and his descendants would rebuild the world without dinosaurs, focusing on smaller, more manageable animals. Agriculture, essential for survival, would be more viable without giant herbivores destroying crops. The flood narrative, passed down from generation to generation, would gain even greater weight, with dinosaurs as symbols of the divine power to erase and recreate. Now let's combine science and faith. Modern science attributes the extinction of the dinosaurs to an asteroid that hit the Yucatan Peninsula, creating the Chicxulub crater, but some creationist interpretations see the flood as an alternative. How can this be reconciled? Perhaps the asteroid and the flood are one and the same. The impact could have caused tsunamis and global rainfall, in line with the biblical narrative. The iridium layers in fossils, evidence of the asteroid, could be seen as deposits from the flood. Another possibility is that the flood was a more complex event, with volcanoes, earthquakes, and floods working together, as some creationist geologists suggest. This would explain the rapid fossilization of dinosaurs, with bodies preserved in positions of agony, as if they had been surprised by a sudden catastrophe. In faith, the flood is a symbol of judgment and renewal. Dinosaurs as dominant creatures could represent the old world that God wanted to erase. The ark, on the other hand, would be the backup of creation, preserving what was needed for the new beginning. This idea resonates with traditions that see the flood as a new beginning, with Noah as the guardian of the new order. Culturally, the extinction of the dinosaurs by the flood would inspire myths. Ancient people, upon finding fossils, might interpret them as the remains of monsters destroyed by God. The Bible, with its descriptions of creatures like Leviathan, might reflect memories of dinosaurs. To this day, some creationist communities believe that dinosaurs and humans coexisted, using the flood as an explanation for their absence. In the future, this theory could unite science and faith. Paleontologists and theologians could collaborate, studying fossils in light of biblical narratives. Perhaps new discoveries, such as fossil deposits in flood layers, would reinforce the idea of a global event. Or perhaps science will continue to point to the asteroid, but with room for spiritual interpretations. What if the flood really did wipe out the dinosaurs? This idea combines the grandeur of the biblical narrative with the mystery of prehistory, making us rethink the past. The flood, as an event of destruction and renewal, could explain the absence of dinosaurs, leaving fossils as witnesses to a lost world. Noah, with his ark, would be the symbol of a new beginning, where humanity would rebuild without the giants of the past. This vision, even if speculative, connects faith and science, showing how ancient stories still resonate with modern questions. What remains is the wonder of imagining a planet where dinosaurs and humans crossed paths until the waters changed everything. And you, what do you think of this theory? If you enjoyed this journey, give it a like, subscribe, and click on the video on the screen to continue exploring ideas that mix the epic with the impossible.